But first, this hatred of Donald Trump, it's now mad. I mean, have the haters forgotten Donald Trump was actually democratically elected President of the United States? And media claims fed by outrageous FBI leaks that he just stole that election by colluding with Russia to steal emails from the Clinton campaign, they have so far proved to be fake news. Now, there's plenty not to like about the Trump style. He's crude, he's a boaster, and yes, sometimes a liar. He'd rather smash through than talk through. Sure. But to the left, he's really just the most dangerous challenge they've seen to their ideology, and that is the crucial point. And be absolutely clear about this and about all that hypocrisy you're now seeing, these hysterical claims that Trump is actually a budding dictator. Now, I don't believe these haters. You see, when a real dictator, Chinese President Xi Jinping, visited London 3 years ago, only 100 or so people protested. But when the elected Donald Trump visited Britain last week, tens of thousands of leftists protested as if he were the world's most evil man.
We're holding Trump to account. We're highlighting the fact that his toxic, hate-fueled politics, his policies that are having a devastating impact on people, not just in the US.
Hate-filled politics? Get a mirror, lady. What do you call this effort last week by Mexican-American comedian George Lopez pretending to urinate on Trump's Hall of Fame star? What do you call this London protest with its mocking balloon of Trump and its F-Trump chants and its protesters trying to disturb Trump's rest by banging pots and drums? And what do you call this ludicrous fear-mongering by former British Labour leader Ed Miliband?
This is about not a quarrel with the American people. This is about President Trump and his values, his racism, his misogyny, his contempt for democracies, his embrace of dictatorship.
His embrace of dictatorship? Really? I mean, has Donald Trump cancelled elections, jailed journalists, and jailed democracy activists like China does every other week, like Cuba does? No, what's really driving these people mad is that Trump is exposing the failures of their old political elite on this European trip. It has not been Trump's lies, but it's truths that have got them foaming. Truths like this about Europe's disastrous immigration policies letting in millions of illegal immigrants from the Muslim third world.
I just think it's changing the culture. I think it's a very negative thing for Europe. I think it's very negative.
Really? How many people seriously disagree? Trump also told other truths that the political establishment hate. For instance, the 28 US allies in NATO, the West's main defence organisation, they don't pay anything like they should for Europe's own protection. The British government, it is cheating voters by not pulling Britain completely out of Europe as it promised after the Brexit vote. But hear the screams that here is Trump the dictator being tough on America's friends, but so soft on Russian President Vladimir Putin, who Trump is meeting in the next hour or so in Helsinki. Here's one typical Democrat bloviating politician.
President Trump will use every opportunity that comes his way to admonish our allies, alienate our closest friends, and degrade the post-World War II international order in the hopes of winning favor with the dictator from Moscow.
I mean, spare us, please, this craziness. First of all, Putin is not a dictator. He's a thug, he's an authoritarian. All that's true. But he was elected and he does remain very popular in Russia. Nor has Trump weakened sanctions against Russia. But I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of how our national broadcaster, the ABC, spreads this fake news that Trump hates democracies and loves dictators. Here is AM This Morning, doctoring a Trump quote from overnight to make it seem that he's about to declare war on Europe.
Mr Trump set off more alarm bells when he was asked who was the greatest foe for the US.
Well, I think we have a lot of foes. I think the European Union is a foe, what they do to us in trade. Now, you wouldn't think of the European Union, but they're a foe.
Wow, Europe, the main enemy. But wait. Listen now to what the ABC chopped out of the rest of Trump's answer. It's the context that makes clear he was actually making a reasonable and calm point.
Now, you wouldn't think of the European Union, but they're a foe. Russia's a foe in certain respects. China's a foe economically, certainly. They're a foe. But that doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean anything. It means that they're competitors.
They're competitors. That's it. That's all he was saying. Let me say again to the Trump haters. Hypocrites. See, where were you before with all this fake outrage about going soft on Putin and cutting secret deals with him? Where were you 6 years ago when your hero, Barack Obama, he didn't know his mic was on, and he murmured to the then Russian president, who was Putin's puppet, tell Putin I'll cut him a better deal on missile defence after I'm safely re-elected.
Yeah, after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah, I understand. I trusted this relationship. We're living with that.
And where were all these Trump haters when Obama then in the 2012 election campaign ridiculed the Republicans' Mitt Romney for saying Putin's Russia was America's biggest foreign policy threat?
A few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back because, the Cold War's been over for 20 years.
Oh, these haters. They were silent then, but they're so noisy now that it's Trump in charge. Hypocrites, hypocrites, hypocrites. All their fury and all their hate, it isn't really because Trump is a dictator selling out to other dictators. At heart, it's really pretty simple. They hate him because he was democratically elected to do exactly what he's now doing, winding back disastrous leftist policies on immigration, on global warming, on trade, on taxes. And that makes these protesters really little more than a giant tantrum by people who simply cannot stand having lost an election. So, who are the real dictators here?